Actually, at the bottom of example 2, they have this box, and I'd like you to add the following underneath it. These formulas are not on your formula sheet. But deal with your period. There's a formula for figuring out your period quickly. And we just did it in our question just using horizontal stretches and compressions. But whatever the b value is, you're going to have to divide, your period was 2 pi, now you're going to have to divide it by b for both sine and cosine. And for tangent, since your period was pi, the formula to figure out your period of a tangent function would just be pi divided by your b value. So just like our transformations unit, if you have something inside the function, which this pi over 6 is inside the function, this is going to be a horizontal translation. Would you agree that this would go left or right? Pi over 6 to the right. So we remember that every single time that we graph something, left and right is always opposite of that sign. So when we go to graph this one, what's going to happen is, and again, this is sort of the shortcut that we can do for this. We're going to say, well, normally our period of cos is 2 pi. So I'm going to mark 2 pi divided into 4 equal sections. Our maximum and minimum, they're not going to change in this one because we have no vertical stretches or compressions. They're still going to be 1 and negative 1. And normally we would have points on our graph, on our axis family. But this time we are shifting pi over 6 to the right. So what you have to do and what you have to be able to do is determine where is pi over 6 on this graph. What kind of scale would I have? If you think about your pi plate, pi over 2 is 90 degrees. Pi over 6 is 30 degrees. Pi over 6 is 30 degrees. Pi over 6 is 1/3 of 90 degrees. Does that make sense? So what I'm going to do on my graph is I'm going to take from 0 to pi over 2, and 1/3 of the way, I'm going to mark pi over 6. In fact, for each of these, I'm going to mark a new line 1/3 of the way A normal coast graph starts at the maximum. So in blue, here's a normal coast graph. Coast graph would go maximum, then center line, then minimum, then center line, then maximum. This, I'm just going to draw it in a dotted line. This blue line is our regular graph of coasts. If we have our regular graph of coasts, and you need to shift it pi over 6 to the right, all we're going to do, and I'll do it in green, is I'll take this maximum point. I have a ticking mark, 1/3 of the way, pi over 6 to the right. Same thing here, move this one that much over, move this one that much over, move this one that much over, take the maximum, move it that much over. And then my green graph has my shift of pi over 6 to the right. So let's read the questions and see if we've answered them the way the textbook has asked. Determine the phase shift, yes. It is shifted pi over 6 to the right. Sketch the graphs of cos x, which I did in blue, and cos x minus pi over 6, which I did in green. Now, the textbook has this, from 0 to 2 pi. Typically on my quizzes and tests, I will just ask you to do for at least one period, then you would have the arrowheads on the end. Technically for the textbook, I would lose a half a mark because the textbook said to graph it from 0 to 2 pi means that, I'll take out my eraser, I should have stopped right here. Stopped at 0, and when I get to 2 pi, I'll go up here and I'll erase this. I should have stopped here and here. So, when they give you a domain that stops, technically you should graph it to stop there and there. If it's, and what's going to be more typical on your tests and quizzes and on your exam is it'll ask you to graph at least one period, so it would like you to have the arrowheads to continue going and graph it the way we did to begin. Okay, so in the textbook, if it gives you a specific period, feel free to put a line through it and write at least one period. It'll make your life easier. Some of the domains that the textbooks give you just makes it a little bit miserable. So we will practice graphing for at least one period. Okay, you can circle now 3, E, and F. And I'm going to give you the last 7 minutes in class to practice these ones. We'll leave question 4 for tomorrow.